Haven't had a chance to look at one. Thank you.
Terry, Sekou Smith from NBA.com.
Okay.
At some point, do you just get out of the way and let CJ do his thing down the course, down the stretch of this game?
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously we try and get him the ball in places and have his teammates in right spots, but he wanted the ball, and he has the ability to make things happen with it. But obviously we went to him down the stretch, and he made some big plays. But yes and no. Spacing is important. You could call spacing getting out of his way as well.
Kind of a follow-up to that, you guys fell down early, big, and it seemed like CJ kind of kept you afloat. What are you telling your guys after the tough first quarter?
Just stay with it. Yeah, I mean, our offense was really poor the entire first half. Just keep trusting each other. I think trust was the biggest thing. That look, we got a lot of guys who are really confident, and they do trust each other, and generally we find a way. And like I said, the first half offense, it wasn't just the first quarter. I mean, it was not pretty, but you just know it's a long game. It's a game 7, and you have no choice but to keep fighting.
Terry, Kerry Eggers, Portland Tribune. What are your emotions after going through that 7-game series, and now you're in the conference finals for the first time in 19 years?
You know what? Before I answer that question, I do need to say I thought Mike Malone and his staff did an outstanding job. The Denver Nuggets had an outstanding season. No one saw that coming. With what they did in the regular season, winning close games, winning the division. Jokic is an amazing player. They're a young team. They're going to have a lot of success going forward. So they have my utmost respect on not only what they did in the regular season, but what they did in the playoffs. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that. So your question? My emotions? This is arguably the biggest win that we've had in the franchise for a long time. And to be a part of it, to do it the way we did, I'm thrilled. I'm really happy for our guys. As a coach, I think you experience the joy of the team. Having different guys come in, Rodney go down, Evan coming in, and he scored more points tonight than he scored in the whole series probably. It's just to do it in different ways. Myers coming out, it's such a group thing. As a coach, that's what you appreciate the most.
Coach, you called timeout about 4.5 minutes into the second quarter. You're down 17 points, 39-22. What do you tell your team at that point to keep them engaged when the frustration level had to be enormous?
Actually, they're engaged. There wasn't going to be any quit. I don't think they ever stopped believing. I didn't really have to say much. I don't know what I said, but I didn't have to say much because it was still early enough in the game where we've found ways to come out of those holes. So it was just about regrouping. And again, talk about the trust, and trust and competing are the two biggest things for us.
Terry, Young-Masuki, ESPN. In the first round, Dame kind of sealed that series, and then tonight it was CJ sealing the second round. What have you seen from these guys? They've long wanted to kind of be known and recognized as one of the best backcourts, and now you guys are about to face Steph and Clay.
It's a luxury to have two guys like that who can find ways to score in different ways. CJ does it in one way, Dame does it in another. On a night where Dame struggled shooting the ball, CJ came up big. That's what being part of a team. So those two guys, if one of them, mostly one of them's going to have something going. So you kind of count on that, and it was CJ tonight. But it's a luxury to have two guys who can score like that.
Terry, Michael Spencer from CBS here in Denver. You guys hold them to 2 of 19 from the three-point line. Did you do anything different defensively, or just cold shooting on their part?
I'd like to say that we closed out a little bit better, didn't give them quite the same looks. We didn't double team as much. We didn't give up any threes in transition. As far as missing shots, I think it's always a little bit of both. Some of it's our defense, some of it they missed some shots. Jokic hit those first two. I don't think we gave him any clean looks after that. But one of our focus defensively was closing out under control so that you can take away three and take away the drive, and I thought we did a better job with that. It's probably not so much their shooting percentage, but the fact they only took 19.
Terry, you've had a lot of faith in Evan Turner this year. Expound a little bit on the performance he gave you there in the second half especially.
Well, Evan quietly had a really good series. I know everybody kind of looks at his scoring, but that second unit, our second unit was really good throughout this series, all 7 games. We made runs with the second unit, and Evan was a part of that. His ability to guard Paul Millsap one-on-one on the post gave us the ability to space the court on offense and have him be a ball handler. He played the entire fourth quarter in Game 6. Played a lot of the. I don't know if he played the entire fourth quarter tonight, but he was big. And Evan's been in big games. He's a big game player. He's got a lot of confidence. He's a team guy, and he kind of does whatever we need him to do.
Coach, you brought out a different lineup to start the second half. The second half was a completely different game. What were the strategic changes that you made?
Well, honestly, it was nothing against Mo or Chief. Our starters hadn't done well throughout this series, and especially on the heels of Game 6, where Rodney and Zach had an impact on the game. We were having trouble scoring, so starting Rodney and Zach seemed the right thing to do, especially with our season in the balance. So that to me wasn't too difficult a decision. The fact Mo came in and gave us some really good minutes when we got in foul trouble. Myers coming in when Zach got foul trouble. So there was those guys that we didn't necessarily count on early. But as far as to your question about changing the lineup, that was. If Rodney and Zach hadn't done what they'd done in Game 6, maybe I wouldn't have done that. But it seemed like the right thing to do.
Terry, Joe Varden from The Athletic. Going back to post-Game 5 now, you're down 3-2. It was a rough one here. What was the mindset of the team then? And if you felt like this would be possible, what was it that made you feel good even after that one?
The fact that other than Game 5, every game's been competitive. And regular season, playoff game, they've all been very competitive. Going back home obviously gives you a little bit more confidence. And, we just played a poor game in Game 5. I mean, there's no getting around it. If we had lost a tough one and you kind of look at what ifs, but we didn't play well. And I think we were able to push that aside because we didn't give it I don't want to say effort, but we didn't play well, and that's why it's kind of easy to kind of forget about that one.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, so Terry Stotts and the Portland Trailblazers. Remember, they got swept in the first round of the playoffs last year by New Orleans. This year, they're going to the Western Conference Finals. Damian Lillard struggled throughout, but hit some key buckets late for the Portland Trailblazers. He chatted with our own 3D Dennis Scott on the court.
All right, Dame, your first Game 7. You didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but your leadership really showed up tonight.
I mean, it was a group effort. CJ, he doesn't get a lot of credit. People talk about what I'm doing and, what I've done, but he's there every step of the way. And tonight, I didn't shoot the ball well, like you said, and he carried us offensively. But, our supporting cast, man, Zach Collins, the last few games, Rodney Hood went down, but Rodney Hood, Evan Turner was probably the biggest thing for us tonight on both ends of the floor. Seth Curry, I mean, everybody came in and just did what we had to do. Coming into tonight, I wasn't putting pressure on myself saying, you got to shoot and you got to do this. I was like, whatever it takes to get the win, that's what I'm going to do. And regardless of how I shot the ball, we pulled it out, and that was our ultimate goal. So, I'm really, really excited about that.
How big it was for Coach Stotts to shake things up with the lineup in the second half to kind of give you guys some energy?
I mean, whatever is necessary. We was getting great minutes from Rodney, great minutes from Zach, like I said, and it says a lot about Mo and Chief to be able to accept that, and then when they get called on to come in and be ready to impact the game. But that was big for Coach to notice that and actually take action. It was huge for us, big win.
So you know what happens now. You're going back home for the Western Conference Finals. It has to feel real good to go against these Warriors.
Back to the Bay, man. I'm coming home. I know a lot of my family was planning on seeing me. So I'm happy we was able to get the job done.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks 3D. So here's what we got from these two backcourt stars in Game 7. It was all about CJ McCollum, and he was just absolutely sensational. Dame wasn't very good shooting the basketball. I mean, how surprised are you to see a game like this? It almost, didn't it feel a little bit at halftime like we were going to see the next version of the Steph Curry game where he didn't score in the first half and bam, he'd break out in the second half?
Or we was going to see the continued play of Klay Thompson the way he played in the first half and continued on, and that's what you saw from C.J. McCollum. And I thought Dame did an excellent job of just rebounding the basketball, assisting the basketball, and McCollum did the same thing.
Yeah, and the one thing is, you look at it, I'm impressed by those guys. We know the scoring and it wasn't there for Dame, but it was there for CJ. Look at the rebounds from two guards, 19 rebounds between those two. That's huge.
All right, guys, let's go back out to the podium. The head coach of the Denver Nuggets, who lost in 7, is Michael Malone.
Just want to start off by congratulating, obviously, the Blazers on a hell of a series. Congrats to Terry Stotts and that team. Lots of great players, and more importantly, a lot of good people on their roster. So happy for their success. Hope Rodney Hood is okay. And